I want to first welcome everyone to our land call for land fans. This is our very first interview of the year. So I want to first welcome everyone and wish you all a very happy 2023. Our very first guest that we are so delighted to have on with us is Tim Mai. Tim Mai is actually my business partner and mentor and friend. And so I am just ecstatic to get started with him. A little bit about Tim. Tim Mai is the embodiment of the American dream. Having survived a childhood that included war, a dramatic escape from pirates at sea, and languishing in a refugee camp, he arrived to Houston, Texas at age 12 with his 19-year-old brother, speaking no English and with nothing more than the shirt on their backs. Tim seized the opportunities America presented him with by hustling his way through high school, college, and eventually realizing his dream of financial independence through real estate. Tim is an industry leader who has acquired and exited well over $50 million worth of real estate and currently an investor in over 2,700 units of multifamily apartments. Tim has taught thousands of entrepreneurs all over the world how to get started in real estate investing and has commanded upward of $100,000 a year for coaching. Along with his many business accomplishments, he has also been very active with several charity organizations in Houston and has helped raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for charities. Tim lives in Sugar Land, Texas with his high school sweetheart, wife, and two amazing teenage boys. Welcome, Tim Mai. We're so excited to have you. Thanks for being on with us. How are you, Tim?
I am doing awesome. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be on the other side of the mic, the other side of the interview. As you know, I'm used to interviewing others, so it's always cool to be on the other side.
Awesome. Well, we're so glad to have you. I know we have had a long history together, but I'm so excited to share you and your story and your experience with everyone. So let's just jump right into it. The very first thing that we are all wanting to know is, how did you get started flipping land?
Yeah, so land. So I've been a real estate investor in the single family homes for 20 years now, coming on 20 and a half years. But it's been a long journey. In terms of getting into land itself, I got it was let me see how many years ago. This is pre-COVID. So roughly about 3 years ago, maybe 4, I started doing big constructions where I would take a single family home and turn it into a duplex. So, the construction costs for those things are well over 100,000. And so as I was doing these, I was like, okay, the amount of work that I'm doing with remodeling these homes and doing major renovation to convert them into duplex, I might as well build a duplex or fourplex. And so that gave me the idea of looking for lots. So I came across, and so from there, I came across a deal from another wholesaler, a house with 3 lots next to it. And then shortly after that, I got another house with 2 lots next to it, because now I'm open to, I didn't get into, land and lots until I was willing to do new construction. And so after I bought those, COVID hit. And as you remember, during COVID, a lot of things slowed down. The city shut down. So it was very hard to get permits. The eviction court shut down, so you can't even evict tenants. And both of these properties that I bought had not tenants, they're squatters that I had to evict out. And so it was a very, very challenging period. I ended up paying those squatters to move out. It's like, if you can't ask them to leave nicely, the next best is just to pay them and get out. I also, in the process, filed for eviction too in that process, but the waiting for eviction was gonna be way longer than if I just paid them to get out. So, and then I was selling, I was remodeling those houses to resell them. And with the permitting shutdown and or slowdown, our remodeling went over time, over budget. So it was a mess. Anyway, so along the way, I was like, it's like, you know what? I have these lots. Maybe I should sell them and try to recoup some of my costs while I'm going through these construction. So on one of the property, I sold the 2 lots next to it for almost what I bought for the whole thing. So I bought the whole thing for, it was 70,000. I sold the 2 lots for 60,000, so $30,000 each. So now I'm in the house with just $10,000, right? And then but it's major construction, so I put a lot of money into repairing it. Anyways, after I sold it and everything, and then I sold the house, and I calculated how much profit I made on the lots, the 2 lots, versus how much I made on the house after paying off construction and holding costs and all of that stuff. And I made way more on those lots than I did on the house. And I had 0 headaches on those lots. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't even have to mow the lawn on those lots. And so that's when the light bulb turned on for me. The first light bulb turned on. So it's like, hey, you know what? Let me go to the other house that I have 3 lots next to it, and sell those lots, and see. So I ended up selling the 3 lots to a builder, and same story. So after I sold the 3 lots, then I sold the house, and what I made on, so I bought, if I remember correctly, I bought the whole thing for 105,000, a house and 3 lots. I sold the 3 lots for 99,000. So I was in the house for like 6 grand. After all said and done, I made more money on the lots than I did on the house. I'm like, okay, I gotta get serious about this, right? It's there's something to these lots. And so I was so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do marketing. Actually, let me share one more story, something that happens along the way of me buying these. So as I bought the house with the 2 lots, now my ears are open for lots and land. One of my old students came to me, wanted me to partner up with him on a piece of land. It was 43 acres at that time. Okay. So I'm gonna stop there, and I'm gonna circle back to it later. And so it's like, okay, so that, so I did that. Now I'm like, okay, so I don't want to accidentally come across these land deals and lot deals. I want to purposely and intentionally market to them. So I was on a webinar with John Alexander had a call, and I was like, you know what? He teaches a lot about land. So I was like, you know what? Let me get on and hear what he has to say about it. And within the first 10 minutes of the call, he mentioned that out-of-state owners is among the best type of owners that you can go after when it comes to land. I heard that. I was like, okay, that's all I needed to hear. I got off the call.
On the call for 2 minutes. I got it. I'm ready to move on.
Yeah.
Land investor, rock and roll.
Yeah. So that was all I needed to hear. And I got off the call, and I was like, okay, that's what I'll do. I'm gonna go pull a list of out-of-state owners and market to them. And so I pulled a list here in Harris County. And Harris County is pretty big county. I don't remember the list size, but it was less than 2,000 out-of-state, lot owners in Harris County. And so I skip traced that list, and did a text campaign to them, and very quickly, within the first, I don't know, I would say 2 months, 3 months at the most, I got my first 5 properties under contract. One of them was an acre of land, a little bit on the outskirt of Houston. It's still within Houston, but it's like, on the outskirt of it. It's in a subdivision where they have mobile homes. So it wasn't a mobile home park. It was just a subdivision of nothing but mobile homes. And the seller had bought this 30 something years ago, for maybe like bought in the 80s, right? So however long that is. He bought it for 30,000, and for some reason the tax assessed value for that land, at that time, I don't know what it is now, but it was only like $33,000 as the tax assessed value. It probably because it's in the subdivision with the like I said, those mobile home parks, and nobody sells over there. Like you can't run comps. There's no comps to support it. And so yeah, so he asked me, well, what can you offer me for it? I was like, well, the tax assessed value says 33,000. I can give you that amount for it. And he's like, what? But I paid 30,000 for it, back in the 80s. I was like, well, I mean, this is what the tax assessor said, tax appraisal says. And so he agreed to sell it to me for 35,000.
Wow.
So I bought it for 35, and then I put out signs around that area. I knew that for a property like that, the people who live in that area are the best buyers for it, right? So so I put out signs for it for 115,000, and the neighbor next door to this land called me and ended up being the one that bought the property. And he said I've been trying to get a hold of the owner of this property forever, because he's been mowing the lawn and taking care of this land because it was next to his.
Wow.
So all of these years, I don't know how many years it has been that he's been taking care of this land. And yeah, so finally he got, he bought it from me. So I was like, whoa, this is really good. And so that was one properties, but all those 5 properties that I got under contract, in the very beginning, we got a lot more since then, but those first 5, only one deal didn't go through because it was in a flood zone, where it was pretty bad flood zone that I couldn't find any buyers for it. Yeah, like I couldn't even give it away because it's in a I think it might have been in a floodway. I don't remember, but the difference between flood zone and flood zone, you can still build on it. You just gotta build it up, so high, but floodway is much harder to build because the water is like gushing, right? So
Got it. Yeah.
it's flood, in selling land, flood zones still have possibility. Floodway, you can forget it. Don't even bother wasting your time on it. But yeah, when I average up, how much I made on average per deal, it was around $35,000 on average per deal. On the first set of land that we have.
Wow.
Now that we have done a whole lot more, our average profit has gone down a lot more. But but that out of state owner list was the list that got me the best deals, because a lot of these owners, I mean, they live out of state, they can't take care of it. On some of the land, like if it's too near the city where the city inspector is driving by it, if the grass gets overgrown, they'll give you a ticket for overgrown grass, and then if they have to go mow it, they put a lien against the property. So it is a hassle for the landowner on some of these properties, depending on how close it is to the city or how rural it is. But yeah, that's kind of how I got started. And then the cool thing about that 43 acres that I bought, remember?
Yep.
So, my partner who brought me that deal, ended up, we decided to subdivide it and resell off some of it. So we bought the whole thing, the 43 acres. It was $170,000. We sold off 7 acres for 150,000, and we sold off 1 acre for 28,000. So those two, we sold off 7 acres for what we paid for the entire 43 acres.
Wow.
Yeah, so I still own that 35 acres now. I have since bought out my partner on it. And my plan is to develop this 35 acres into a subdivision. They call it build for rent subdivision. So, you build out a whole subdivision and you rent out the entire subdivision, and not selling them piece by piece. Yeah.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So I just want to point out, so the 1 acre that you did, that 1 acre deal that was around the mobile home parks, you made $80,000 on that deal.
Mhm.
And there was literally, you weren't cutting the grass, you weren't doing anything. You literally just got the property under contract, and then you turned around and found a buyer for it by putting out signs, right?
Correct. Yep.
That's absolutely incredible. So there's no fixing, there's no, flipping like you do in houses. One of the things that you mentioned was that when you first got started, you kind of fell into land flipping because you were selling off these other lots that were attached to houses.
Right.
And then once you started getting more intentional about finding these land deals, you mentioned that you started texting. So can you go back and talk a little bit about that? How did you decide, like, once you decided, okay, this is what I want to do, I want to find land, you pulled your list, why texting? Why did you decide to text?
Right. So, I mean, texting back then was a lot easier than it is. Well, it's the same in sense of the technology is the same. Now the law changes a little bit, but yeah, texting is a great way to get a hold of a lot of people quickly. And these days, right, most of us use our cell phone. Like, how many people have landlines anymore? Not many, right? And so yeah, texting is one of the most efficient and effective way to get a hold of someone. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been in the real estate business for 20 years now. So I'm not new to marketing. I've done a lot of different types of marketing, from direct mail to cold calling to, I used to run a lot of TV ads back in the early 2000s, when it was a lot more affordable back then. So I've done a lot of different types of marketing. And yeah, so texting was just one of those marketings that was effective, low cost. And so that's the reason why I decided to go that route with the land.
That's very cool. That's very cool. So if we're using the 1 acre deal as sort of a case study, what would you say your costs were in getting that property under contract to selling that property? How much money did you put in to that deal before you made the $80,000 profit on it?
Right. So, I would say, I mean, most of the cost was in, because the list was small. Like I said, the list was around 2,000 something people. I don't remember the exact size, but I remember it was very small. And so that doesn't cost much. Skip tracing, I think at that time I was paying 11 cents per hit. So if you take 11 cents times, let's say 2,000, whatever that works out to be, right? If a couple $100 or something like that. Um, and and so yeah, so all in, and of course, I mean, there's the platform, the texting platform, that I use for that. So that that adds a couple $100.
Because texting
But
is only like a few cents a text message, right? Like, it's not
right,
60 cents or $1 like you would have for mailers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But there's also the price you pay for the platform itself, right? So there's what you pay for the platform and then what you pay per text. So depending on which platform you use, and so, but yeah, I would say in my case, the platform that I bought back then, it cost me $5,000, like a lifetime licensing thing where I didn't have to pay monthly fee, or and yeah, and so it kept, so my upfront cost was high because of my initial investment into the texting platform. But but these days, there's so many texting platforms you can get in as low as $99 a month. So now it's different now than it was before. Yeah, so I would say, I mean, if you kind of distribute out the cost of the what I pay flat fee, for the texting platform, maybe $500 that I pay total to
Wow.
get that one deal. And if I take that 1,000, if I take that 5,000 I pay for the texting platform. Oh, actually, I didn't pay 5,000 because the guy hooked me up. I think I paid 3,000 or
Of
something
course, you
like
got
that.
the Tim Mai VIP treatment.
uh, but so anyways, the point being is that even if I take the 5,000, I distribute it among my first 5 deals, not counting the thousand, the many deals, not thousand, many deals I've done through that texting platform. Yeah, so my cost in the deal is probably around $1,000 a deal or something like that. So yeah.
That's incredible. Put in 1,000, get $80,000. What an ROI. And you didn't have to break down walls or fix anything. Literally,
Right.
you just flipped it.
Now, I did have, she's not an agent, but I hired her to put out the signs, to take the calls from the buyers, because it was a Hispanic community. And so I needed someone that can speak Spanish to take the calls and all of that stuff. So I did pay her, I think I pay her 3%, 2 or 3% of so I did pay a commission, even though she's not licensed, but yeah, like a marketing fee
Nice.
for
Nice.
that. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So, for those deals, did you wholesale the deals? Meaning, did you get them under contract and not pay anything for the lots and then sold the
Yeah.
contract, or did you actually buy it and then turn around and sell it?
So it depends, and I make that decision based on how good of a deal it is. So in this particular case, I already knew I had a really good deal. I didn't want to take the risk of trying to wholesale it or even try to double close it. I didn't want to market it until I already own it. So in this case, I close on it first, and yeah, and then I had a friend of mine is one of my private lenders, and so I used her money to buy this thing. So I was really in it with, I mean, other than my marketing costs, I didn't have to pay anything for the property. And so yeah, so I used private money, bought the property, then I turn around and market it. Now some of the other deals that I've done, um, like even within that first 5 deals, there was another deal where I did a double closing, where I close on, double closing means that I buy and I sell it on the same day. And then there was another deal that I assigned it, and it's funny because I assigned, because when I went and market the deal for sale, this is before I would put the property on the MLS. Back then, I used to just sell it to the wholesale market.
Okay.
And so I listed it, in the investor market. And then another wholesaler brought a buyer from New York, I think, or New Jersey, to it. So yeah, so I assigned my contract to this wholesaler, and I made $20,000 assignment. He assigned it to his buyer, and he made another 14,000 or 15,000 on top of mine thing. So yeah, so the end buyer paid 2 assignment fees out of that deal. So that was a different deal. But yeah, so it depends on the deal. Depends on, how good of a deal it is, how much profit there is, and whether or not I feel what would satisfy my risk tolerance of people going behind me, or anything like that. That's kind of, so I don't have a straight rule of when I'm gonna buy and close on, when I'm gonna double close, when I'm gonna assign it. In an ideal world, I like to assign everything because it keeps my closing costs down the most, right? And so yeah, so if I can have it my way, I'll assign everything no matter what the assignment fee is. But there are times when it's such, I know I'm going to make a good profit on it, and I don't want to take the risk of the buyer backing out because my assignment's fee is too big, or want to renegotiate with me, or even try to go behind my back. And so in those kind of times, then yeah, I'll go ahead and close on them.
Awesome. Yeah, that's one of the really cool things about land, about just the space of land investment, is that there are, you just talked about 3 different ways to close on potentially the same property, depending on what type of deal it is. So you talked about using private money, so raising money from someone else to do the deal, so it's no money out of your pocket, so you can close on it. You talked about wholesaling or assigning a contract. You've also talked about double closing. All 3 of those, there wasn't very much money out of your own pocket to be able to do the deal, that was just something that blew my mind, when I first got into this business, because when you hear, oh, I'm going to flip something, I think about HGTV, where people are flipping houses and they buy the house, and then, sometimes they
Right.
lose their shirt. But in this situation, it's literally just being creative to be able to get the deal done. So it's not a whole lot of money out of your pocket, which is just amazing. Um,
Right.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very, very cool. It's very cool. We have a lot of people on the call today and who will be listening to this who are new to the land space. And so one of the things I'd love for you to share with us is, I know that you have a couple of teenage sons, right? And you actually taught one of them to flip a lot. And so I was wondering if you could share with us about how you taught your son to flip a lot. Talk to us through that process. That way we can kind of glean some information about how can they get started.
Right. Yeah. So, so my son, who was 16, he is now 18. It's been a couple of years, time flies. But yeah, I he wanted to learn to make some money, and at 16 I want him to make some money because he wanted to buy a car. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to teach you how to do these land deals. And it's very simple. So I told him about the out of state list. I told him about how to skip trace it, how to upload it into the texting platform, and how to send out the text. So I was just guiding him through like each step of exactly what I did for myself, in the same county too, right? So he didn't even have to go to a different county. And so yeah, so I taught him to do those things. And I told him, like, the texting message, I go, just start with this, and then whatever they reply, then I'll teach you how to respond to the next thing, and so on. And yeah, so he did exactly what I did to get started. So he pulled a list of the out of state owners again, because this time, by the time he got into it, I was onto a different area already. Because after, I'm in a small list like 2,000, you can't work that list very long before you need to move to a different the different area. But anyways, he would work on that. And he got really lucky. And I have to say that, a lot of success in real estate is not all just hard work. It's not all just, grind it out, hustle it out. Sometimes luck play a big role in what you do. So in his case, because just to give you really quick backstory, when I first got started in real estate back in 2002, I spent the first 6 months door knocking on pre-foreclosures. Rain or shine, I was knocking on at least 10 houses per day. And guess how many houses I got, Kendall, after 6 months of door knocking from that?
Zero.
Zero, exactly.
Zero.
And so in my case, when I first started, I didn't get as lucky as my son did. For him, the very first day that he did his texting campaign, he found this deal. So I
No
mean,
way. Didn't have to
so
go out in the sun, in the rain, just send a text message, got a deal day one. Man.
yeah, exactly. So time change, technology change. I mean, so yeah, obviously because I've done this, I was able to pinpoint for him exactly what to do, right? So that's very, very key when someone has already done what you're trying to do. It's easy for them to, much easier anyways, for them to guide you through it. But yeah, so I just taught him exactly what I did. So he came across the seller, and it was a husband and wife divorce situation, yeah, her name was on the county clerk's office, but then when we skip trace, somehow through that divorce, he got the phone number. He got the phone, and yeah. And so when we call, it was him that we talked to, and not her, even though the skip tracing went to her name. But yeah, anyways, he was another Vietnamese gentleman in his 70s. And and so I went to meet with him. My son and I went to meet with him to sign the contract, because he's like, no, I don't do emails, I don't do stuff online. We'll meet in person. And when we met with him, he wanted to meet at this place that does notary. And in his mind, he was thinking that we were coming to give him 50. I think the price we ended up agreeing to was either 50 or 55,000. I don't remember the exact, but let's just say 55,000. Doesn't matter. 55,000. He thought that we were gonna bring $5,000 in cash, in like a briefcase or something, and that he would just deed the property over to us.
Just get
So
it done all right there.
yeah. So we had to, so we have to explain to him, no, that's that's not how it works. And yeah, we have to do the title search and blah blah blah. So it was a really interesting situation. We ended up driving him to the title company, so that way the title company can help explain to him, and he feel safe that that they're a legitimate company, they have an office, things like that. Because at that time, yeah, I was mostly working from home, so he can't even come to my office at that time.
Right.
This was during COVID, kind of time frame. But so anyways, uh, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, yeah, really interesting seller. In the end, we got through to it, and because he was so difficult, we didn't want to take a chance at double closing it or even assigning it. So as soon as the title was clear, we decided to go ahead and close on it. So I had another friend of mine funded the deal as a private lender. And then we put it on the MLS, and we sold it on the MLS for, I think it was around $90,000.
Wow.
So yeah, so after we pay for closing costs and agent commissions and all of that stuff, we clear right around $30,000 or so.
That's incredible. And again, did you have to do anything to the land? Did you subdivide it out or anything like that? What did you do to the property?
Yeah. No, I think we did put out the signs, and I believe we did get the grass mowed, because it's in one of those areas where if you don't mow it, they can give you a ticket for it.
Got it.
So yeah, so So yeah, I think we mowed the grass twice on that thing. That's about it.
Wow. And how long did it take from the time Tyler found the property to the time you guys closed and it was funded? How long did that take?
So I'm trying to think here, but I think it might have took us almost 2 months to close on the purchase because of the title issues, because we have to get their divorce decree, and we had to get there was there was some title complications that we had to clear out. So it took us almost 2 months to close on the buy. It took us less than 30 days after that to close on the sell. The sell side was the easy side. The buy side was harder because of the title issues.
Got it. And of course, Tyler shaved a lot of time off of that by finding it on day one of
I know.
his texting. That's amazing. That's absolutely incredible. And so, did you make a believer out of him now that he said, "Hey, I did this deal. I made 30K on it"?
Yeah, he's definitely a believer. And however, I didn't have him continue with land. These days I have him work on, because now I'm in more commercial real estate side. So he's been sourcing self-storage deals and multifamily type deals. But yeah, I wanted him to graduate into bigger properties quicker.
Right.
I spent almost 20 years in the single family home space, and now I'm in the commercial real estate space. I love it so much more that so for me right now, it's about the bigger the property, the more, the more I'm interested. So even with land, I started targeting bigger. So like I bought a 30 acres that was $850,000. And I even for that, like I use a private lender for that. So I'm working on developing that, that land. So yeah, I'm going after much bigger deals. So I wanted Tyler to do the same.
Awesome. So when you first got started in your land journey, again, you kind of fell into those infill lots, right? Those small
Hmm.
infill lots
Yeah.
around neighborhoods. And then you decided to go after those specifically, those smaller infill lots, and then you graduated to larger land deals. Can you talk a little bit about those, how you started doing those bigger deals? What are the main differences you're seeing in those big deals compared to the smaller infill lot deals that you started with?
Right. Yeah. So, the smaller lots, they're there's more abundant of them, right? So there's a lot more of them, so you find them more easily. My team's still doing the smaller lot deals right now. Just me personally, I'm moving on. I moved on to bigger land deals. But the in terms of the marketing, it's pretty much the same. It's, you're pulling the lists the same way. You're just pulling for bigger properties. So instead of, in infill lots, we didn't filter out what size of a lot we would go after. But in the bigger land deals, either 5 acres on up or 10 acres on up. So it's just the way you pull the list is a little bit different. But other than filtering out the acreage size, and deciding like what county you're gonna go after. Obviously, with the bigger land deals, you unless you're gonna focus on commercial land, that's a little bit different. If you're gonna focus on like commercial land, then you still be in the city. But if you're trying to do subdivides, those tend to be like on the outskirt of town. If you look at your main county, then it's the counties next to it. So, or the surrounding the main county would be where you would be looking um, for the bigger land deals. But yeah, it's the process is the same. We text people, we call people. So the marketing is really not different. Looking at the land is a little bit different. You don't have as many comps to look at. And so, depending on the land, you try to look for, well, what can I do with this thing? If because even with bigger land, there's a difference between a land that is close enough town that can be developed easily and people still want to live there, versus a land that's much further out where it's a lot more rural, so it doesn't make sense to develop. The only thing that it would make sense for is to subdivide. Then that's a different types of land. And so yeah, so you just have to get clear on what type of land you want to focus in on, and then target those. For me, I like land that can be developed, because like I mentioned, I'm now into the commercial real estate side. And so I look at the land and say, okay, can I do a subdivision? Can I do, build an apartment building? Can I do commercial real estate? Can I build a gas station there, right? So those are the kind of land that I like. So I don't go that far out of the city, because I want things that can be developed fairly quickly. And yeah, so does that answer your
Yeah,
question?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. One of the great things about land, I know you and I have talked about this, is just that there's so many different things that you can do with land, right? There's so many different uses. You mentioned that you had done a subdivide deal earlier. Can you talk a little bit about just the overview of the process? How did you go about developing a subdivision or subdividing the property?
Right. So when it comes to subdividing, it's th- so there's the the I don't know if the right way, wrong way is the right to say it, but there's different levels of subdivide. So generally speaking, if you have a big tract of land, let's just say you have 100 acres, okay, and you're gonna divide them into 10-acre parcels. Um, if it's 10 acres or more, almost every single county in the US would allow you to subdivide it without going through replatting. So all you have to do is just survey off. You hire a surveyor and you say, okay, I want to divide this thing into 10 different parcels of at least 10 acres per parcel, and they draw out the new survey, and then you just sell it off based on that survey. So that's the easiest process. And so that's one way to do it. The other way to do it, especially if the land for some reason, like at some point it already got surveyed out where you have a different tax ID already on the county record, then those are even better. So like um my 43 acres, I think it had a total of three or four different tax IDs. And so so the portions where it already has its own tax ID, those are the easiest to sell off. Because it's already independent like that. But I did one where it was a smaller lot. So you can do this not just big land, but even on smaller lots too. So I had one where it was an 8,000 square feet lot, and I got it subdivided into two 4,000 square feet lot. So when it's small like that, I had to go through the city to apply to replat it and resurvey it. So that took me. So when you go to, like in that particular case, it took me 3 or 4 months to finish the replatting process. So in a survey case, you literally, like, if you didn't have to replat it, then it just it's as fast as you can survey it. But if you have to replat it, then yeah, it's a longer process, 3-4 months, like I said.
Got it. So, and then of course, the idea is once you subdivide the property and you have now different parcels, then you sell out the parcels individually, right? Or you can
Correct,
sell
yeah.
it as a package. What would be, for those that are on the call that are not familiar with subdividing, why would you subdivide a property versus just selling a large 300-acre chunk?
Right. Yeah. It opened up your for a bigger bite. Depending on the type. So let's assuming you're talking about the bigger tracts, right? If you have 100 acres and you subdivide into 10 acres. Okay, let's use that as an example. You will have a lot more buyers who could afford and are interested in buying 10 acres than you can find one buyer that's interested in buying a whole 100 acres, right? And
Right.
so it's almost like you buy in bulk and then you sell it retail, right? Um,
A great way of
eh,
putting it. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like that. And then for the small lot, like I share, where I took an 8,000 square feet lot, divided into two 4,000 square feet lot. In that case, I'm targeting a builder. Instead of building one house, he's now able to build two houses on it. And so I'm able to get more money from that, because I'm willing to go through the process. Because if I sold it as one lot to the builder, well, now he has that 3 to 4 months that he has to go through to replat it, right? So because I go through that for him, I'm adding value, him or her, whatever, them, because I go through that process for them, and utilizing my time and my money into replatting it. And so by the time they buy it from me, it's already ready for them to go and build and put two houses on.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I love that analogy of buying in bulk and selling retail. In lots of instances, if you buy in the right areas, you'll see that, if you buy properties that are 100 acres, actually valuing that property out, if you sell it as a 100-acre parcel, it could be, the comps could say maybe $6,000 to $8,000 a square, 6 to $8,000 an acre. Whereas if you were to do 10-acre parcels, that smaller size may be $12,000 to $15,000
Exactly.
an acre. So
Yep.
you're actually forcing the appreciation of the property or the value of the property when you subdivide it out like that, right?
Right. Yep.
Nice.
Exactly.
Very good. So, there are some newer land investors on the call. Can you talk a little bit about what advice would you have for brand new people that are interested in getting involved in investing in land? What type of advice would you have for them?
Yeah, just know that it's much easier than you think. A lot of us, we start out with single family homes. It's because it's common. We see it. We might live in one. We drive around, it's everywhere, right? So it's very common. And the challenge with something that's common is there's also more competition, right? All of the HGTV shows, like you said, flip this house and shows like that, it teach a lot of people, massive amount of people, houses. And so houses have a lot of competition versus land. There's not many people teaching it. And there's not many groups like, what you're building here, Kendall, that will teach it. And so it's still sort of, insiders club type of thing, right? It's still, it's not as popular. And so it's so much less competition. And yeah, I mean, it's just like anything, you do have to learn it, and you do have to find resources to learn it. The resources not as abundantly available as single family home, but that's a good thing for you, because now you have less competition, and you're willing to do the work and learn the things that you need to learn about land specifically. The better it is for you. You get to do deals easier. And like I said, I mean, the difference between, and it's a drastic comparison, but yeah, I door knock on houses, foreclosure houses, for 6 months, zero deals, and here's my son, first day at work, got him some land
Congratulations.
deals. So
Love it.
yeah, it's it just know that it's a lot easier than you think. It's a lot more doable than you think.
Got it. I love that. I love that message. And you mentioned one of the words that kept coming up when you were talking about the different deals that you've done and your experience is partner and JV. It sounds like partnering on land deals has been a big strategy for you in terms of actually getting deals done. So can you talk a little bit about what partnership opportunities are out there for new people that are just getting started? They don't know what to do. They don't know how to do it. They've got a little bit of information. How can they
Right.
partner, and what benefits do they get from partnering with other people?
Right. So it depends on the deal, but the small deals doesn't require you to partner as much as big deals, right? Because there are land deals that we buy where they're so inexpensive, we can just like a couple $1,000 or some. I think the cheapest deal we might have bought was like $200,
Wow.
crazy,
Wow.
crazy cheap like that. And so yeah, small deals doesn't need as much partners, but yeah, the bigger the deal it is, the more important partnerships become. Because either the partnership because of the money that they bring to the table, or because of the knowledge they bring to the table, right? And so, like for me, I am so the I have two subdivisions that I'm working on developing right now, and I don't have any development experience, and so it makes sense for me to partner up with a developer who has a lot more experience to go through that. Can I hire them without partnering up with them? I can, but it costs a lot of money to hire some of these expertise, right? And so partnering to me makes a lot more sense. You're able to leverage the network of others. But yeah, if you're starting out, you do your marketing, you find a deal. I guess a good rule of thumb is if you don't think you can do that deal because it's too big for you or too complicated for you, then that's a good sign for you to find someone who have that expertise, who have the money to take down a deal like that, to partner with them. The one of the deals that I'm working on right now, I'm still in negotiating with the seller, but it's 2,400 acres of land,
Wow.
2,400 acres of land. That's like building a whole city. I have like zero experience in building a city. And so on a deal like that, I mean, I have to find multiple partners, partners with money, partners with experience, partner with resources, to take down something like that. And so, yeah, but I think that's a good rule of thumb. If for your job is to go find a deal, okay, and then either you don't know what to do with that deal, or you don't have the money to take down that deal, or it seems too big, or whatever that is, whatever reason that you don't think you can do that deal yourself, is a good sign that you can look for a partner to do that deal with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know some people on the call, I've talked with them and they've said that they have a few contracts that they got far enough to figure out how to get a property under contract, but then they
Mhm.
don't know how to sell it, or they can't sell it. It's just a great opportunity to get with other land investors or other investors that they may have a buyer's list, or they may have experience
Right.
marketing. That way they can help dispo and help sell that deal. So partnerships definitely is a hack, right? Like, it's just a hack to getting deals done that you normally wouldn't have to do. I just love the fact that you don't have to do it all, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
incredible.
for the longest time, I didn't think that way, and that kept me in the single family home market for way too long. Now I think everything in terms of partnerships. So now I'm not afraid to take down huge deals that I could never have imagined before. So yeah, now, like, let's say $1 billion deal come across my table, I'm not afraid of it anymore, because I know all I have to do is find the right partner to, that are used to doing those type of deals, and I can make that happen.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Yeah, definitely leverage. And that's one of the amazing things about the climate that we live in today, that we have all of these different groups and Facebook groups, and everything is virtually connected. So, you can do a deal, well, you and I, we live in different cities and we do deals together all the time. And
Yep.
so, you can find a deal in a different state that you live in, bring in partners from a different state from that, and then just collaborate and do a deal together, which is, I think, the magic about this whole industry. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. As always, please feel free to hit us up in the Facebook group, Only Land Fans. And we'll be sharing more information. I also have YouTube videos that I'll post in there as well that I just recently did that can answer some more questions, specifics about flipping and wholesaling. And yeah, we're super excited to have you. So thanks so much for being on the call live with us. We do these every single Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Time. So looking forward to seeing you next week, and we'll talk to you soon. Everyone have a great week. Thanks. If you're interested in hearing from other 6- and 7-figure land flippers about how they've built and run their businesses, then check out my group OnlyLandFans, where I do a live interview each week inside the group. You can grab that link at the description below. Until then, be great, have a great week, and catch you in the next one.